Hey everybody, it's Luke Newcomer with the Newcomer Group. We're exceeding your expectation as our standard, and I'm really excited to be sitting down with Kaitlin and Maria. They are the owners and business owners of Little Sprouts Speech Therapy, and they're actually our first guests doing this. We're kind of trying to give back to the community right now, create more content for business owners like yourselves. So before we dive into everything, tell us a little bit about yourselves, about the business. I'll give you the floor first, Kaitlin.
All right, I'm Kaitlin Halliwell. I've been a speech therapist for a while now, from St. Augustine, and this is Maria.
And I'm Maria DiMare, and I'm also from St. Augustine. We both have graduate degrees in speech therapy, and we've been speech therapists since we graduated.
Yes.
So quick question about that. Very rare combo, both from St. Augustine, right?
Yes.
Did you know each other prior to going to school? Did you go to school together? How did you collaborate to create this business?
So we went to high school together, but we didn't become, we're actually best friends,
Yes.
but we didn't become best friends
cool.
until college when we were roommates together.
We were at UCF in Orlando together.
Cool.
So, and then it was after that we weren't in the same job for a while, and then eventually we ended up at the same place, and then this kind of was born from that.
We didn't go to graduate school together.
That's a super small world. Okay,
Yeah.
so you knew each other, went to college together.
Yes.
Both had different backgrounds before starting this business.
They're like
Same.
they're like the
Similar,
same background but at different
Okay.
times.
So with that said, like, how did you collaborate to create this concept? And on top of that, tell everybody what Little Sprouts Speech Therapy is, because I think a lot of people are like, what is that?
Yeah.
Right?
What is that? Okay.
Sure.
So it's a locally owned speech therapy business. We provide pediatric speech therapy while a child is in their learning environment. So we're eliminating the need to go to a clinic. We travel to pre-Ks, daycares, private school, and we do all of our services right there at the child's school.
Wow.
So we're mainly seeing kids that don't qualify to get services like through, St. John's County School District or Early Steps, and we're targeting those children to get the help that they need, and it's helpful for parents too.
That sounds like an amazing concept, especially, that resonates huge with parents. Most people, it's dual income, so they're both working. So to
Yes.
create a schedule around their work, to get them
Right.
somewhere, that's a big convenience factor. How did you come up with this concept?
So we both have backgrounds working in the school system and then in an outpatient clinic. And we just found when we were working in the school system, there's just so many kids that need to be served. So sometimes there's individual needs that are not being all the way met. And then in the outpatient clinic, we just saw that families were really strained to bring their kids to therapy, and the parents were very stressed having to make this a part of their daily routine. And so we just thought, how could we serve this population with causing the littlest inconvenience for
Sure.
everyone?
Yes.
Did you guys come up with this concept, or is this something that people are doing in different segments? It sounds like, to me, hearing something like that, I don't have children, but that's something that would be massively beneficial. Was this a concept you created, or did it branch off of something else?
It's sort of unique, I would say, when we
Yeah.
created it, because we were sitting there at our old job kind of like thinking about the barriers in that setting. We're like, what
Sure.
can we do to be more helpful to these children and these families? And that's where the idea sort of sprang from. So there really aren't, yeah, it's sprouted. It's sprouted. We sprouted. So there really aren't a lot of, speech therapists like us that are traveling around to the child's learning environment and providing the services there.
Okay, that's really cool. How has this concept, this is, you guys said before we hopped on the camera, this is year 4,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And year
Going
4,
into
so
fourth year.
newer, but you're definitely quite established. How has the response been since getting things up and running?
I think it's
It's been
very
very-
positive.
yeah.
Awesome.
It did take us some time to grow into different schools and just to find kind of what our niche was going to be.
Sure.
But I definitely think we've had a very positive response, and parents really like that they can just sign their kids up for this, and we can go
Right.
and they can get communication from us, but that they don't have to take their kid anywhere else. And especially at the daycares, because I think a lot of times the daycare population is kind of underserved because they're just kind of unsure as to whether their kids need services or not. So we've been doing screenings at some of the private schools and daycares, and that can be really helpful because the parents, if they just have a tiny concern, they're like, okay, it's $25, I'll sign my kid up for a screening, and then they get to talk to us and kind of see like what our feedback is on where their kid lies. So I think that that's really helpful for parents too, and that's kind of where we get a lot of our clients from. So
that's a huge value proposition. I mean, that was a lot to take in, but I understand the concept, and I think any parent out there that's watching this video, that's a huge value proposition. So the word kid to me, that's a huge range, right?
Yes.
So like, what is that? I shouldn't say ideal client, but like, what does that kid look like for you? Is there an age gap for this? And then my follow-up question on that is like, at what point do they graduate, and can they graduate?
Yeah, well, they definitely graduate.
Okay.
That's what we do. We help them graduate. But we work with kids that are, young babies, like 12, 15 months old. Like
Okay.
a lot of people think like, oh, they're babies, they shouldn't be doing anything. But like they're definitely speech and language milestones you should be hitting as an infant. So, our youngest ones are, 12, 15 months old.
Wow.
And then we go up to kids middle school aged or older. We usually see those on teletherapy.
Okay.
So I think our main population is the preschool age. So think like 2 to 5 is like mainly who we see.
Sure. So, and then this is just kind of off the top of my head. I think that a lot of people, unless their kid's going through it, don't really understand what you do or why it's like. How would you simplify identifying if your child needs this type of service?
Yeah. You want to talk about speech?
Is that an
and I'll
easy
talk
one?
about
Yeah,
language
yeah.
maybe? There's
Sure.
kind of like 2 parts.
yeah,
That's what I
so there's
figured.
speech and then there's language. So speech is articulation of certain sounds. So let's say that your child, instead of doing the K sound, they might do a T sound that's in the front of the
Yep.
mouth. And so those things are things that we can work on with them. And it's really important, like especially we believe in early intervention. So at a young age, starting to target things that they should be doing by now is really helpful so that people can understand them, because when kids go and they have all this confidence to start talking and then nobody understands them, they just start to get really...
They can shut down.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
start to shut down. And then if that goes on for years and years and years, then it's really like it hurts them.
There can be some serious long-term effects, so
yeah.
it's cool that you can nip that up
Right,
front.
and so
Yeah.
that's kind of the articulation part of it. And then there's the language.
So language is what you're able to communicate and understand. So
Okay.
we work on, maybe let's say a small child that's 2, 3 years old, they understand everything you say, but they're not saying anything. So we work on having them become a verbal communicator, starting with single words, moving into phrases. We also work with kids that don't understand what you're saying. So they might talk, but you say, hey, go get your diaper and bring it to me. And they have no idea what you've said. So
Right.
we work on, following directions and understanding what's being said to them. So that's more of the language piece of speech and language.
So again, a lot to take in. I would think that it probably gives parents a really big sense of relief knowing that someone like y'all are in the community to help. The parent obviously wants to be involved to an extent, I would assume, or at least know what can we be doing after these sessions. How do you answer that question, and how does that get handled?
Yeah, so we have good communication with our parents. We like to communicate with them the whole time.
I'm going to interrupt you. Can they also be in on these sessions, or is it encouraged to kind of be one-on-one with the kid?
Yeah, typically we're happy for them to ask any questions, and some of our schools, they actually have cameras that they can kind of watch us.
Log in
Nice.
and watch
But
from
Okay.
afar.
typically it is kind of disruptive because we are in the school environment. It's a little bit disruptive sometimes to have a parent, and actually some of the schools don't want us to have the parent
Sure.
sitting in there. So to kind of get good communication with them without having them sit there, we do write notes home after every single session. We tell them what we worked on and what they can be working on at home. And then we just have like an open door of communication. So if they ever have a concern, they can email us, call us, and we try to be really good about getting
Yeah.
back to them.
Well, I was
We
gonna
love
ask-
talking to the parents because,
I'm sure.
they're with them the majority of the time. If we see them twice a week, they're 30-minute sessions. We're with them for an hour, which is great, but really the parent is with them all the time. And if we
Sure.
can kind of teach them what we're working on, they're going to see great results because they're working
So they
on
can
it too.
watch, from a camera possibly, and they also have a full report, and
Yes.
then there's also a massive open line of communication
Yes.
with you guys. Now, are
Yeah.
the parents talking directly with you? Do you have like an assistant that's handling the?
No,
It's
it's just
just-
us.
We're the front desk.
That's
we're the
awesome.
schedulers.
You do it all.
We're the billing department.
We're IT.
We do
I
everything.
can relate to that.
It's
Um,
just
It's
us.
challenging sometimes, but we like it that way because
We-
we can
we-
know what our parents
It's
are
intimate.
getting.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
and
like
it's a really great experience. I mean, it's truly they're talking to the people doing it. There's
Right.
not
Exactly.
this door in between that line of communication, which I think is
Yeah.
probably really, it has to be very important for the parents, and I'm sure the response has been fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful, and I think it's helpful for the kids because there's only 2 people that they have to interact with
just
ever.
us.
So even if like They usually see Kaitlin, but Caitlin's out. They already have seen me a bunch of times. They can see me.
Sure.
So I feel like that's really important too for
really
just consistency.
Tell us
a good relationship.
Yeah, obviously I can tell. Tell us about the schools. I mean, do you work with all public schools? Is it private schools? There's daycares. How do these schools get involved with you, or how do you reach out to these schools?
All right, so public schools we don't go into because they have their own speech
That makes
pathologists.
sense.
So those kids qualify under a totally different thing. We don't go into those. But we do go into private schools and daycares. Typically when we start at a school, we do like a big screening day for the entire school. Every kid gets a flyer, and if they want to sign up, it's a $25 fee, and we go in and we do our screening. And then from there, it's all direct communication with the parent. Like there's no like scheduling through the school.
Gotcha.
So then we move forward from there if they want to do a full evaluation. So that's when we really go, when we do a standardized assessment, we write up a full detailed report with individualized goals, and that's sort of the jumping point for therapy if the parent wants to move forward.
Okay, that's going back. I mean, how did you get dialed in with these schools? Did you just like go door knock on them, or did they reach out to you? I love that.
It was difficult, but
it was tough to start.
It was a good experience, though,
Sure.
I think, because neither one of us had ever done anything like that before.
Yeah.
And so we were just knocking on people's doors, and we were like, "Here we are.
Yeah.
Do you want us or not?"
That's the entrepreneurial spirit. I love
Yeah.
And I think it has helped us grow so much, like
Yeah.
having to have like actually put in that legwork
Yes.
to get into these schools. But now I think right now we're in about 6 schools in the immediate St. Augustine and a little bit up into the Jacksonville area. But we have a great relationship with them. Like the teachers know us, if they hear a kid that's having some speech troubles, they know that we're there to help them, so they can, tell the parents, hey, we have Little Sprouts here. Like,
That's
here's
awesome.
their info if you want to give them a call. So it's nice to be, connected with our community right here.
Absolutely. That's kind of what I was segmenting into is a question on top of that too is how many people do you see on a daily basis, Monday through Friday?
It varies by day. So I think a lot of people don't realize the travel time. So we're also driving our car all around getting to the schools, but it varies upwards to 15 kids a day. And a session's 30 minutes. So.
Okay, 30 minutes. And that was kind of so talk to that concerned parent that's like, hey, I know something's off. I want to get them help. Like, what's that first conversation and what's that expectation you set when you're talking to a parent that wants to get their child into this program?
We say, just call us because we want to talk to you. Your
Awesome.
child best. If you have the feeling as a mom or dad or, caregiver, hey, something's just not right, just give us a call. We're happy to chat with you.
That's awesome.
You give us a call, and if we say, hey, we hear your child's 5 and they still can't make an L sound, let's set up a screening, and then we give them the necessary paperwork, and we schedule with the school, make sure it's a good time when we go into school, do that screening, and then get in touch with the parent again to say, we heard what you heard, let's do an eval, or no, your kid's okay for now.
So transparency. It's that the biggest thing I'm taking away from this conversation is open line of communication, full transparency. I love that it's a boutique company in the sense you guys are doing it all, which is really cool. I mean, that's a massive intimate proposition for a concerned parent, I think. Tell us a little about pricing. I'm sure it's not a one size fits all. Do you work with insurance? I mean, that's obviously another concern for parents. What does that look like?
So we do not accept any insurance. We're self-pay only. When we were working at the outpatient clinic, there was so many times it's started this kind of trend, I guess, where insurances were not covering speech therapy for children unless they had a significant diagnosis.
Gotcha.
So the majority of the kids that we serve are just kids who maybe have an L to work on or have an S to work on or something like that. So the insurances sometimes we're not even covering that, and then these parents would get this huge bill after the fact and be like, oh, I thought this was going to cover.
Insurance would be like, we're going to cover it.
Yeah.
And then
So
insurance
months
can
later,
be tricky.
Right.
Yes,
So we decided self-pay would be the best way to go, and we tried to make our rates really reasonable so that families can afford it. So for our screenings, they're $25. And that's just a brief look to know if we should do a further evaluation.
Right.
And then our evaluations are $90, and that includes we administer a standardized assessment, and we have a written report that comes with that, and so then and a phone call after that to talk with the parent about what we saw in that assessment. And then our sessions are the 30-minute sessions, and they're $60 a session.
Okay, that sounds like very reasonable pricing.
Yeah, we tried to.
Yeah, so while we don't accept insurance, a lot of people have an HSA or an FSA
Sure.
account. You can buy,
Elaborate on that. Some
Yeah.
people have no idea what that is,
So-
myself included. So.
Oh no, okay. So sometimes through your insurance, they'll set up an account. You have like a debit card that's kind
Sure.
of connected to it, and you can buy things like a copay at the pharmacy, or you can buy
Okay.
cough medicine with it.
I
You
know
can
what
buy
A health
you do.
spending account.
A health, yeah, or a flexible
Or a
savings
flexible
account.
savings account, yeah.
So most of the time, speech therapy is covered with that, and a lot of times people don't know that. So we always like to tell our parents, like, double check to make sure speech is a covered expense, but you can use that for the speech therapy.
Sure. Kind of my last question on all of this before we wrap it up. What's the success rate? Obviously it works. It's super helpful, but how do you give comfort to a parent or one of the kids within this program to say, "Hey, this isn't forever. We're going to help you fix this."
Yeah.
Is there
It really
it's not a one-word answer, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
what does that timeline look like,
And every parent asks, like, how long is it going
how
to
long?
take?
Sure.
And
'Cause
it
you wanna
really
know.
just depends on the child. Like, it's so difficult for us to actually predict.
Right.
It depends on their participation, how many things they have to work on, how often they're seen per week, that kind of thing. And so I feel like, and if they're doing practice at home, there's just like so many
There's
things.
variables.
So parents always ask us that, and we always wish we could tell them like, oh, 6 months, that'd be
Yeah.
great. But some
It's-
kids stay in speech for years, and some kids
Right.
And
are
some
only
kids
in
are
it
a
for
couple months. Sometimes
Yeah.
we've seen kids that have so many goals, and you're like, oh wow, like they're gonna be in speech for the foreseeable,
Right. So
future
no
couple
kid's the
years,
same.
but-
Obviously no timeline's going to be the same.
Mhm.
But
But-
some kids pick it up really,
That's
really
awesome.
quick. There's just no way to know, but there's like definitely a hierarchy you move through when you are working
Okay.
on speech, and we let the parents know, like, hey, if they're working on an S, they have to be able to make an S by itself before they can do it in conversation.
Sure.
So it's like a speech ladder, you go up. So they know where they're heading on the timeline. We don't know how long it's going
That's
to take
great.
to get there, but they know where they're going.
I love it.
Yeah.
What else? Like closing statements. I mean, we covered a lot. Seriously,
Yeah.
I've learned a ton. I think this is a really cool business. I think more parents need to know about you. More schools need to know about you. Obviously, it's the two of you. Are you still taking on new business? Are you looking for new clients?
Yes.
Yeah, we always
Okay.
are, because kids are always graduating, so spots are
Sure.
always opening on
That
our
makes sense.
schedule.
Mhm.
Sometimes we're super busy, sometimes we've got a bunch of people graduating, but there's always room for more.
What's the best way for the viewers to get in touch with you? Is there an email, a website, phone number? We can
Yes.
obviously put it in this video so they can kind of click it. We'll add links, but tell us the best way to get in touch with y'all.
Email is the best
Okay.
because a lot of times we're with students, and so if we get phone calls and we're with students, they have to just go to voicemail because we're
With-
Gotcha.
Right.
What's your email address?
It's littlesproutsspeechtherapy@gmail.
littlesproutsSpeechTherapy@gmail.com.
It's a long one.
Listen, I really appreciate y'all coming in.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be an awesome video for everybody to watch. Definitely in the comments, share your feedback, tag, share whatever, send it out to as many people as you can. We want to get the word out. Last question for everybody is, you both have a chance to answer it. What's your favorite thing about St. Augustine, since this is geared towards the St. Augustine community?
Okay.
So I was born and raised in St. Augustine, and so were my parents. I mean, my dad was born and raised here, and so I think it's so beautiful, and I think that being close to the beach and also having the historic part is very neat. And then I just like that there's kind of a local small community that's like underlying this like bigger thing that all people are moving to. So
I like. With that said, how has the local community backed you guys? I mean, has the response been really good?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
great.
That's
Like, there's
awesome.
we have
pretty-
a lot of
two
support.
pretty prominent schools here.
Great.
We're in those schools, and we've been welcomed by them, so it's
Awesome.
been good. Yeah.
Caitlin, favorite thing about St. Augustine?
Well, everything she said, and then also, this is kind of like a quirky little one, but do you know what pink sauce is for like fried shrimp?
Yeah, I just had it last week at Osteen's.
You
Okay.
haven't had it before?
No, I had it. I
So
had
do
it
you
last
know
week.
that's
Okay.
very like a St. Augustine thing? I was in Jacksonville. We were eating lunch, ordered fried shrimp. I asked the girl for pink sauce, and she was like, you want cocktail sauce? I was like, no, I want pink sauce. No idea. So
So I'm not from here. I've been here for 12 years. That's 1,000% a St. Augustine
Yeah.
thing.
it's very
I
much
learned
like
about
a
it
St.
at
Augustine
Osteen's, and like
thing.
I get it
Yeah.
every time I have their
The
fried
pink
shrimp.
sauce.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Dal
it is.
sauce.
Or yeah, dal sauce too. So
I like that.
the sauces.
the sauces.
Pink sauce, great community. You can't beat it here.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for hopping on.
Yeah,
we
thank
really
you.
appreciate y'all tuning in with us, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.